The helmet and the dirt. Jake Miller did not want to be on planet Terrace 7. The sun here was too hot. The ground was dry, dusty, and full of rocks. And the work? Boring. He had joined the dig team hoping to find alien treasure, cool tech, or even old alien bones. But for the past 6 weeks he had found only dirt. Lots and lots of dirt. He wiped sweat from his forehead and sighed. Another long day. His shovel hit something hard with a dull clunk. Huh? Jake stopped. That wasn't a rock. He dropped to his knees and brushed the dirt with his hands. Slowly, a round metallic shape appeared. It was smooth and silver with strange symbols carved into the sides. As he dug more, he realized it was a helmet. Not human. Not anything he had ever seen. It looked ancient. Yet somehow it was shining. Like new. Jake laughed to himself. Watch this be some alien crown. I'll put it on and become king of the galaxy. He picked it up. The moment his fingers touched it, the helmet started to hum. A low, deep sound. Almost like a growl or a song. Then it lit up. Bright blue lights blinked around the edges. A beam of light shot straight up into the sky like a flare. It was so powerful it cut through the clouds and vanished into space. Jake jumped back and dropped the helmet. Okay. Nope, not normal. The ground beneath him began to shake slightly, and his comms device crackled. Jake, are you seeing that? What did you do? A voice shouted. I don't know, Jake replied. I just touched it. Meanwhile, far away, deep in a part of space no human had ever seen, an ancient station, powered on. Lights flickered to life. Machines that had been quiet for 1,000 years began to hum. A group of tall, glowing-eyed aliens gathered around a floating screen. On it, a blurry image of Jake holding the helmet played on loop. He has returned. One of the aliens whispered in a deep, gravelly voice. The helm-bearer, another said. The prophecy speaks true. Back on Terrace 7, Jake didn't know any of this. He was panicking. The helmet stopped glowing but still buzzed with energy. Jake picked it up carefully. It was warm, like it had a heartbeat. He stared at it. What are you? Suddenly a shadow passed overhead. Jake looked up. A ship, big, sleek, not human-made, and it was landing. The ground shook again. The air filled with a loud humming noise as the ship slowly came down. Jake ran and hid behind a rock. The ship opened with a loud hiss. A ramp lowered and out walked 3 figures. They were tall, almost 7 feet. Silver armor, blue eyes glowing. Not robots. Not quite human. Something in between. They didn't speak. They walked straight to the spot where Jake had dug up the helmet. One of them knelt and touched the ground. He then turned his glowing gaze toward Jake's hiding spot. Jake cursed under his breath. Great, they saw me. The alien raised a hand. Jake flinched, expecting a laser blast. Instead, the alien bowed. He bowed. The other 2 followed, placing one hand over their chest and lowering their heads. Jake blinked. What the heck is happening? One of them stepped forward and spoke in perfect English, but with a strange echo-like voice. You have awakened the helm. The prophecy is fulfilled. We are here to serve you, Zeroth Khan. Zeroth what? Jake said. The alien pointed to the helmet. The one who wears the helm commands the stars. You are our leader now. Jake took a step back. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You've got the wrong guy. I just found this thing. The alien bowed again. You were chosen. The helm called to you. It only answers to one. The one. Jake looked at the helmet in his hands. It had called out. It had lit up for him. Something very old, very powerful, had chosen him, and now aliens were calling him a leader. He laughed nervously. This has to be a dream, but it wasn't. The alien ship opened wider. A throne-like chair was waiting inside. They motioned for him to enter. Jake stood there, unsure. A small part of him wanted to run, but a bigger part of him, maybe the part deep down that always wanted to be more, was curious. What if this was real? What if he was part of something bigger? He took a deep breath and stepped onto the ship. The moment he did, The doors closed behind him. The ship lifted into the sky. Jake Miller was no longer just an intern on a boring dig site. He was the helm bearer now. Whatever that meant. The message from the stars Jake had never been in an alien spaceship before. Actually, he'd never even been in a regular spaceship unless you counted the shuttle he took from Earth to the dig site, and that had smelled like burnt coffee and regret. This one? Different. It was clean. Quiet. Too quiet. The walls glowed with soft blue light. Symbols moved across the surface like water flowing through pipes. The air smelled like metal and ozone, mixed with something sweet, like flowers he didn't know the name of. Jake followed the three aliens down a long hallway. None of them spoke. Their footsteps made no sound. It was like walking with ghosts. At the end of the hall, a door slid open with a gentle whoosh. Inside was a round room with no windows but a high ceiling filled with floating lights. In the center stood a tall pedestal with a flat surface. The lead alien pointed to it. Place. The helm. Jake hesitated. He was still holding the helmet. This strange, glowing, ancient thing that had changed his life in a single second. Part of him wanted to throw it out the nearest airlock, but another part couldn't let it go. He placed it on the pedestal. The room went dark. Then from the floor to the ceiling a giant hologram appeared. Stars, planets, entire galaxies spun slowly above their heads. Jake's mouth fell open. Is this a map? The alien nodded. The map of the lost stars. Only the helm bearer may unlock it. Suddenly, one of the planets in the map began to blink red. Then another, and another. One by one, dozens of systems began to flash, creating a glowing trail across the galaxy. Jake stepped back. What does it mean? The alien spoke again, slower this time. It means the enemy stirs. The ancient enemy. They see the helm has awakened. They will come to destroy you. Jake blinked. Wait, hold up, I just got here, now I have enemies? The alien lowered his head. Yes, and you have allies. But they do not know yet that you have returned. Jake rubbed his face. This was too much. You keep saying returned. I've never been here before. The alien looked at him, silent for a long moment. Then he said something Jake wasn't ready for. You are not the first helm bearer. Jake froze. What? The alien pointed to a small device at the edge of the pedestal. It projected an image, a man in heavy armor holding the same helmet Jake had found. But this man looked older, stronger, angry. Behind him, an army of aliens cheered. This is the original. The Zeroth Khan, the alien said. He wore the helm 1,000 years ago. He united the systems. He vanished in battle. The prophecy said he would return. Jake's voice dropped to a whisper. But I'm not him. The alien nodded slowly. No, but the helm chose you. The lights dimmed again. A different hologram appeared, this time of Earth. Jake felt a chill. This is your home, the alien said, and it is in danger. The red blinking planets were now moving toward Earth. They are coming for the helm, the alien warned. They will destroy all who stand in their way. Jake looked at the image of Earth, then back at the helmet. This was bad, very bad, but he couldn't turn away. So, what am I supposed to do? He asked quietly. The alien stepped closer. Lead us, Jake laughed bitterly. Lead you? I don't even know how to lead a Zoom meeting. The alien's face remained calm. Then learn quickly. A second door opened behind them. Another figure walked in. This one different. She was shorter, wore no armor, and had soft white eyes. That seemed to see through Jake. This is Arya, the lead alien said. High Seer of the Stars. She will guide you. Arya bowed slightly. You are the one, or the one who must become the one. Jake raised an eyebrow. That's comforting. She smiled faintly. The prophecy was never about the return of one man. It was about change. The helm doesn't just respond to blood, it responds to belief. You have doubts. Good. That means your choices are your own. She walked closer and placed a small disc in his palm. It lit up and floated above his hand, revealing a message. Jake's blood went cold. The message was from him, but not the current him, a future version. Worn, tired, with a scar over one eye. If you're seeing this, future Jake said, then it's already started. Don't trust everyone, especially not the one called Vorka. And whatever you do, don't give up the helm. The message ended. The disc dissolved. Jake stood frozen. He had so many questions, but only one thing was clear. Something terrible was coming, and somehow he was part of it. Outside the ship, the stars shimmered. In the darkness beyond, another ship watched from far away. Sleek, silent, deadly. Inside, a figure leaned forward and hissed, "He's found the helm. Begin the hunt." Training the Messiah. Jake didn't feel like a leader. He felt like a guy who accidentally stepped into the wrong elevator and ended up at a secret galactic council meeting. Now everyone was looking at him like he was the chosen one. Spoiler alert, he wasn't, but the ship didn't care. Neither did the aliens. The way. Next day began before Jake had even wiped the sleep from his eyes. A loud chime echoed through his room, more like a space prison cell with mood lighting. A voice came through the wall. "Training begins now." The door opened on its own. Jake rubbed his face, still half asleep. "Great. I always wanted to go to Chosen One boot camp." Lesson 1. Lead or die. The training room was a massive dome, bright, white, and full of strange-looking weapons. Long staffs, glowing blades, floating spheres that pulsed with electricity. Standing in the middle was a new alien. Tall, thick armor and a face that looked like it had never smiled. Ever. "This is General Kor," said Arya, who had led Jake here. "He trained the real Zeroth Khan." Jake frowned. Oh good, no pressure. Kor didn't say anything. He just tossed Jake a blade. It hummed in his hand, vibrating like it was alive. Then Kor attacked. No warning. No slow demo. Just a blur of motion and wham. Jake hit the ground. Hard. "Wrong grip," Kor growled. "Try again." Jake got up, groaning. "Do you guys offer dental insurance?" They trained for hours. Jake stumbled, fell, got shocked by a training drone, yelled at, fell again. Every time he thought he was improving, Kor would raise the bar. "You're not the chosen one yet," Kor barked. "You're just a man holding a legend." Jake's hands bled. His legs ached. But by the end of the day, he could at least stand and block a hit. Small progress, but progress, and for the first time the helmet buzzed with something close to approval. Lesson 2, the language of command. Later that night, Arya showed him something new. A dark chamber filled with floating orbs. Each orb played a different voice in a strange alien language. "These are the voices of the council," she explained. "If you are to lead, you must speak to them. You must earn their respect." Jake groaned. "So now I need to learn, what, 50 alien languages?" 62, Arya corrected with a small smile. "But don't worry, the helmet can help." Jake placed the helmet on his head. Instantly the voices slowed. He could understand some of the words: unity, betrayal, return. Then one voice, deeper and clearer than the others, echoed loud in his mind. "You are not him," it said. "You are the shadow, the copy." Jake ripped off the helmet, breathing hard. Arya looked concerned. "Did you hear it?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, and I think it hates me." She lowered her voice. "Not everyone wants the helm bearer to return. Some believe the prophecy was a warning, not a promise. A new mystery." The next day, Jake noticed something strange. One of the alien guards, a quiet one with glowing red eyes, was always around, watching, following, never speaking. Jake asked Kor who it was. "Vorka," Kor said with a grunt. "Tactician, loyal to the council." But Jake remembered something. The future version of himself had said, "Don't trust Vorka." So why was he always lurking? That night, Jake snuck out of his room. He followed Vorka down a metal corridor that led deep into the ship, somewhere not shown on the maps. There, hidden behind a thick wall, he saw something terrifying. A second helmet, just like his. But black, twisted, dark energy pulsed from it. Vorka knelt before it, whispering. Jake leaned closer to listen. "The false one wears the helm now," Vorka said softly. "But not for long. Soon the dark helm will rise again, and the true master will return." Jake stepped back and stepped on a loose metal plate. Clang. Vorka's head snapped around. "Who's there?" he growled. Jake ran. Cliffhanger. The warning the next day, Jake confronted Arya. "There's another helmet," he said. "A black one." Vorka was talking to it. Arya's face turned pale. "That should not exist," she whispered. "The dark helm was lost, destroyed." "Well," Jake said, "it got found, and your friend Vorka wants to use it." Arya looked at him with fear in her eyes. "Then the war is closer than we thought." Suddenly, the ship shook. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Kor ran into the room. "We're under attack." Jake rushed to the command deck. On the screen, a massive ship was approaching, sleek, silent, and glowing with black energy. Arya stared at it. "That's a Dreadspire, ancient warship. It serves only one master." Jake clenched his fists. This wasn't training anymore. This was war, and he was still holding a blade he barely knew how to swing. But there was no turning back now. The Betrayal Code. The alien warship loomed in space like a ghost from a nightmare. It was black, quiet, and cold. No lights, no signals, no signs of life. Yet it was moving. Jake stood on the command deck of his ship, staring at the view screen. Arya was beside him, her hands trembling. "That ship," she whispered, "hasn't been seen in over 900 years. Kor's eyes narrowed. "Dreadspire. Last time it appeared, it wiped out 3 star systems. No warnings, no survivors." Jake swallowed hard. "So, we're not talking friendly visitors?" Kor gave him a look. "Not unless you're friends, like death." The code inside the helm as the crew scrambled to battle stations. Jake did the only thing he could think of. He put on the helmet. The moment it touched his head, everything changed. The room blurred. The sounds vanished. Suddenly, Jake stood in a strange white void surrounded by lines of code, symbols floating in the air like fireflies. "Where am I?" he asked. A voice answered. Not the helmet's usual voice. This one was older, colder, familiar. "You've come too far, too fast," it said. "You were not supposed to reach this part of the code." Jake turned. A figure stood in the distance, cloaked, faceless, wrapped in shadows. "Who are you?" Jake asked. "I am the architect," the figure said. "I built the prophecy." Jake took a step back. "What do you mean, built?" "Prophecies are just programming. Belief is the operating system, and you were just the trigger, not the savior." The white void shattered. Jake ripped the helmet off, gasping for air. First contact outside, the Dreadspire had stopped moving, just floating in space, completely silent. "Maybe it's not working," Jake said hopefully. Then it fired a warning shot, barely missing their ship. Jake ducked. "Okay, it's working." Arya looked at the screen. That was not a miss. That was an invitation. The Dreadspire opened. A small shuttle floated toward them. Kor raised his blaster. "Don't let it dock." But Jake shook his head. "I want to see who's inside." Kor hesitated, then lowered his weapon. The shuttle docked. Steam hissed. The doors opened, and out stepped a human. The man with no past. He was tall, bald, wearing armor with the same symbols as Jake's helmet. But his eyes, cold, sharp, inhuman, locked onto Jake like a predator. I know you, Jake said quietly. The man smiled. You should. I'm you. Everyone froze. What? Jake whispered. The man stepped closer. I'm your backup. The original host. You? You were a test. A weak copy. And now? I've come to collect my helm. Jake shook his head. You're lying. But in his mind, the pieces started to fit. The future warning, the architect, the second helmet. The prophecy was never about a return, it was about a reset. Betrayal revealed. Suddenly, alarms blared. Systems were shutting down. Lights flickered. Internal hack detected, shouted the ship's AI. Jake spun toward the command deck. Arya gasped. It's Vorka. He's gone. Jake's stomach dropped. He's helping him. Moments later, Vorka appeared on the screen, standing beside the strange man. You were never the one, Jake, he said. The real. Helmbearer is right here. You were just a warm-up. Kor roared and smashed the console. I knew that snake couldn't be trusted. Jake looked around. Half the ship's systems were down. The engines were failing. The defense grid was offline. They were being handed over, from the inside. Fire and fury, Jake clenched his fists. No, not like this. He sprinted back to the helm chamber. The helmet was still glowing, but dim, flickering, like it was confused. Jake grabbed it. You chose me once. If I'm just a copy, then let me rewrite the code. He placed it on his head again. This time the void appeared, but differently. More stable, more alive. Symbols changed shape, reacting to his thoughts. He focused. Lock out all intruders, reboot core systems, activate defense protocol, zeroth override. The helmet glowed bright. The ship shook. Back on the deck, lights returned. Engines roared. Shields flared up. Jake reappeared, standing tall, helmet pulsing like a star. Kor stared. What did you just do? Jake smiled. I stopped being the copy. Twist. Ending. The secret of the real one. Just as they prepared to fire back at the Dreadspire, something stranger happened. The enemy ship retreated. Jake watched in confusion. Why would they back off? Arya stared at the screen, her face pale. Because they don't want to destroy you, she said. They want you to follow. Jake looked at the path of the retreating ship. It was heading toward a dead zone in space, a forbidden region, a place no one returned from, a place called the Silence Between Stars. The helmet spoke one last time that night. If you follow them, you may find the truth. And the truth will break you. The truth of the Helmbearer. The Dreadspire vanished into a region of space known as the Silence Between Stars. It wasn't on any map. No stars, no light, no gravity. Just emptiness. Like the universe had carved out a hole and whispered, Don't. Come here. Jake stood at the ship's observation window, watching the stars disappear as they followed the enemy ship into the darkness. Kor grunted behind him. This place is cursed. Arya said nothing. She stared ahead with wide eyes and pale skin. We're not chasing the Dreadspire anymore, she whispered. We're chasing ghosts. The hidden coordinates hours earlier, when Jake had reactivated the helmet's core systems, it had revealed something strange. A locked memory file. Corrupted, fragmented, buried deep in the code. It took Arya and the ship's AI 6 hours to crack it open, and when they did, it showed a location, Arc Station Theta 0. Jake leaned forward. What's that? Arya looked uneasy. It's not a station, it's a tomb. The frozen legend. When they arrived, Jake saw a massive structure floating in space. No lights, no motion. Just black steel, covered in frost. The ship docked. Jake, Arya, and Kor entered through a frozen airlock, their breath fogging in the cold air. Inside was a long, silent corridor lined with statues, alien warriors frozen in mid-battle. Some were real, mummified, cryo-burned in time. They reached a central chamber with one large stasis pod. Wires fed into it from every wall. The room pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the pod was a man, tall, muscular, human, wearing the original helmet. Jake stepped forward. "That's him." Arya nodded. "The first helm bearer, the true Zeroth Khan." Jake looked at the control panel. A single word blinked. "Awaken?" The awakening against everyone's better judgment. Jake pressed the button. Steam hissed. The pod groaned. Lights flickered. Slowly, the glass slid open. The man inside opened his eyes, and everything went wrong. In an instant, red lights exploded across the chamber. The walls shifted. Machinery woke up like a sleeping monster. The man stepped out, looked at Jake, and then punched him across the room. Kor raised his weapon. "Stand down." But the ancient warrior didn't even flinch. His voice was deep, hoarse, full of static. "I know who you are, the copy." Jake groaned, trying to stand. "This again?" "I am the first," the man growled. "The prophecy was mine. You wear my legacy." Jake stood up, blood on his lip. "I didn't steal it. I was chosen." The man paused. Something flickered in his eyes. "Chosen?" he said softly. "That wasn't supposed to happen." Arya stepped forward. "What happened to you?" The man looked around the room. "I lost. I was betrayed." Revealing the true enemy through broken memories and flashes of pain, the original helm-bearer began to speak. He told them of a time long before this galaxy's current empires, when the first helm was created, not as a weapon, but as a lock. A lock to keep something buried, something ancient, not a prophecy, a prison. The helmet wasn't a gift, it was a key, the prophecy that everyone believed in, a trap built by the very being they were supposed to fight. And the worst part? The being they locked away was still whispering, still manipulating, still trying to return. Jake whispered. "The architect?" The first helm-bearer nodded. "It spoke to me too. It made me believe I could save everything. And when I failed, it left me here. Frozen. Waiting." Arya's face went pale. "Then the prophecy is a virus," he finished. "And you've already infected the galaxy." Twist ending. The living key before anyone could react. The entire station shook. Sirens blared. A voice echoed through the walls. Not through speakers, but inside their minds. "The helm is united again. Access granted. Gate now opening." Jake stared at his helmet. It glowed brighter than ever. So did the original helm-bearers. They were sinking. Suddenly, the floor beneath them opened. A spiral platform descended into darkness. A hidden chamber. Lights flickered on. Inside, a gateway. A massive circular door etched with symbols from every known alien language, and one human phrase in the center. "Welcome back, Zeroth." Jake stepped closer. "What's in there?" The first helm-bearer looked at him, tired, haunted. Not what, who. The door began to open, and behind it, something moved. The battle for belief. The gate opened with a deep, grinding sound. Not like machinery, more like bones moving. Inside was a chamber larger than anything Jake had seen before. Not a room. Not a prison. A temple. At its center, floating, above a black pit, was a massive pulsating core. It looked alive, like a heart made of starlight. Wires fed into it. Symbols shifted across its surface like worms under skin. The old helm-bearer, Zeroth Khan, stared at it and whispered, "I thought we sealed it. I was wrong." Jake stepped forward, the helmet in his hand glowing brighter and heavier, like it didn't want to be here. Then he heard it, a voice in his mind. "You've come far, little spark. Now choose, faith or freedom." The war inside the helm. Jake dropped to his knees as the voice pierced through his skull. It wasn't loud. It was whisper soft. but somehow heavier than 1,000 screams. He was back in the void, the helm's mind space, but it looked different this time. The stars were bleeding. A tall figure stepped out of the darkness. No face, no body, just a cloak made of shadows and shifting eyes. The architect. Jake raised his head. "What are you?" "I am the story you believed in," it replied. "The voice in the prophecy, the writer of your destiny. You wear the helm. But I forged it. I shaped your path. I gave you purpose," Jake shouted. "You lied to me. I gave you meaning," the voice snapped. "You were just dust in the dirt. Now, you're a god in the making." 2 leaders, 1 path. Back in the real world, the chamber shook as Zeroth Khan stepped toward the heart core. "I'll destroy it," he said. "Before it speaks again, before more fall for its lies." Jake stood. "No." Everyone turned. Jake's voice was clear. "We destroy it. We kill everyone who believes. Every alien, every tribe. They built their lives on this thing. You destroy it, and you erase hope." Zeroth frowned. "Hope built on lies is just another chain." Kor stepped between them. "We follow the true Khan, the one who started it all." Others began to gather, some on Jake's side, some on Zeroth's. Lines were being drawn. The room was no longer a temple. It was a battlefield. The first clash without warning, Vorka appeared, teleporting in using the dark helm. He didn't speak, just raised one hand, and the walls of the chamber lit up with thousands of black drones. Floating silently, a mechanical army, summoned by the other helm. He grinned at both helm bearers. "You argue over truth? I'll rewrite it." And then, he attacked. Drones opened fire. Chaos erupted. Kor and his warriors pushed forward, blades flashing. Arya threw up shields. Zeroth activated his ancient armor. Jake, he put on the helm, and the galaxy blinked. Power unleashed, time slowed. The helm unlocked something Jake hadn't accessed before. A memory, not his own. A memory from every helm bearer before him. He saw battles, sacrifices, lies, mercy. He saw himself, not as a leader, but as a choice, a chance to end the cycle. The voice whispered again. "Kill the others. Rule alone." Jake clenched his fists. "No." "Then fall with them." The moment of belief, Jake fought through the chaos to reach the core. Zeroth was already there, charging a strike to destroy it. Jake shouted, "Wait." Zeroth hesitated. "Let me show you," Jake said, placing both hands on the core. He poured in the truth, his pain, his doubt, his hope. The real belief, not in prophecy, but in choice. The core changed. It began to split. 2 pieces, one dark, one light. A message echoed through the room. The helm no longer belongs to a master. It belongs to those who choose. Zeroth stepped back, his helmet flickered, his power dimmed. "You broke it," he said. Jake shook his head. "No, I freed it." Cliffhanger, the final enemy reveals itself, just as the dust settled and the drones deactivated. The walls of the temple cracked. Something else was waking up. The architect's voice returned. "You should not have done that." A giant hand burst from the pit. Then another, a towering figure, half machine, half shadow, began to rise. Its eyes were black holes. Its voice was made of thunder and static. "I was the prophecy. I was the prison. You were the key." Jake and Zeroth stood together now, united. But it might already be too late. Because belief didn't kill the architect. It summoned it. HFY. Humanity fights back. The architect had risen. Its body towered high above the ancient temple chamber, half machine, half something darker, like the shadows of dead stars stitched together. Each step cracked the floor. Its voice echoed without sound. Thoughts died in its presence. "You broke the lock. The helm is mine again." Jake stood with the first helm bearer, Zeroth Khan, side by side, the light helm on Jake's head, the dark helm still floating behind Vorka's lifeless body, now crushed by the awakening giant. Kor, bloodied but alive, gripped his weapon and whispered, "This is no god. This is a mistake that lived too long." The architect raised one arm, and across the galaxy machines stirred, ancient fleets powered on, forgotten weapons blinked awake. Across alien skies, ships began falling from orbit, not by war, by command. The Fall Begins planets began going dark, communication hubs died, shields dropped. Even light itself seemed to slow down in places. Jake watched a hologram as 100 alien worlds lost connection. Panic, screams, silence. "We can't stop that," Arya whispered. Jake shook his head. "Not alone." Zeroth turned toward him. "The helms are linked now. We can override the architect's signal, but it will kill us both." Jake looked around. His crew, his allies, the strangers who believed in him even when he didn't. "No," Jake said. "There's another way." The human hack Jake entered the mind space again, the white void inside the helm. But this time he pulled others in with him, Arya, Kor, even members of alien species who had never touched the helm. He linked them all. Their thoughts, their fears, their beliefs. The architect screamed in rage. "This is not allowed. You are singular. You are weak." Jake stood tall. "We're human. That's never meant alone." He uploaded himself into the architect's code, straight into the God virus's brain, and what he brought with him was chaos. The flaw in perfection, the architect saw through memories, human wars, failures, broken systems, lost causes. It laughed. "You build to break. You love to lose. Your species is a virus of chaos." Jake smiled. "Exactly." He showed the architect resistance, rebellion, hope when there shouldn't be any. He showed it Earth, a planet that never stopped fighting back, even when no one believed in them, even when the sky was falling, especially then. Jake whispered, "You don't understand us because you were designed to control. And humans don't do control. We do heartbreak. We do sacrifice. We do stupid, brave things at the worst possible time." He summoned every helm memory, pushed them into the architect's code and crashed it. The final blow in the real world, the architect stumbled, flickered, roared. Zeroth Khan took his chance. He threw his helmet to Jake. "Finish it." Jake combined them, the light and the dark helm. Sparks flew. A shockwave pulsed through the temple. The architect reached out with a final strike, and Jake charged straight into it. The helms fused. The light swallowed the dark. Jake screamed, not in pain, but in defiance, and drove the combined helm into the architect's core. "I am not your prophecy. I am your end." Silence, then sunrise. The architect exploded in a flash of light that burned across systems. The fleets dropped, lifeless. The dark helm shattered. The code was gone. Jake floated in the chamber, barely breathing. Arya caught him. "Jake?" He opened one eye, still not dead. Totally against the odds. Zeroth smiled. For once. Aftermath. The legend rewritten weeks later. The galaxy held its breath. Peace talks began across systems once at war. Alien races shared stories of the final battle. Not about a god, not about a prophecy, but about a man who refused to be defined by either. Jake stood before a united council. No armor, no helmet, just himself. "I wasn't born to lead," he said, "but I stood up when someone had to. And that's what humanity is. Not perfect, but present. Always present. Especially when it matters." The helm was gone, but belief remained. Epilogue. A helmet in the stars deep in space, somewhere unknown. A small chunk of the broken helm floated silently. It shimmered, then pulsed once. Searching for next bearer.